But in the beginning, just as every beginner once knows as they become a master on the way up to the mountain peak, is you have to give more energy to one thing over another.
Maybe the work that you're doing isn't fulfilling enough for you to become obsessed with it.
Have building blocks and checkpoints along the way to actually get to your goals.
Towards getting back to what something you're passionate about, and you don't have to tie your passion to the dollars.
Like, we need revenue coming in, or this thing's not going to work out. And how long can we sustain this?
Where they were going to hit a breakthrough. And you never know when the breakthrough's coming. We've already felt some momentum kicks.
I never knew what our business was. I knew I liked real estate. I knew it made 90% of millionaires.
I literally will walk it upstairs, put it on Do Not Disturb, and put it in a room.
Welcome back to the Wealth Juice Podcast. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Corey, here with another episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about the work-life balance mantra and why it's misleading and potentially dangerous for young entrepreneurs. And what I want to really get into to start this episode off is the work-life balance to us and how we perceive it. It's basically become a safety blanket for most people. I know it's marketed as like the ideal rest, hustle, family, ambition, peace, productivity, tying them all together and balancing them. But the truth that nobody tells you from guys that have gone through this and started a business or multiple businesses while managing our W-2 jobs is you don't get the work-life balance at the beginning. You earn it by surviving the imbalance, by going through it. So you're earning the ability to have this balance and synergy between your lives. But in the beginning, just as every beginner once knows as they become a master on the way up to the mountain peak, is you have to give more energy to one thing over another in order to it's for that thing to take off, essentially. And then you're able to nurture it and you're plug and play as you put people in the right seats over time and help you manage your system. So overall, I think today people hear this work-life balance and they're like, well, it's an excuse to basically not put the time, energy, and effort into the hard thing.
Yeah. And not only is it an excuse, but I think that this really comes down to like, what are your goals in this life? Like, what do you want to achieve? And if they are like, hey, I want to work a 9 to 5 and I want to buy a couple rental properties and I want to just like kind of, do some of the right things, but not like really, really strive to be the best possible version of yourself, then you can survive. You can do well with this work-life balance. Like we're not saying that you shouldn't prioritize your friends and family. And like, that's something that, I try to do. I think it's about the season of life that you're in. And that to me is an important distinction. Like, what season are you in? And is this the time where you're like, well, there is a little bit less of the work-life balance. And I also think that the reason that there's a bad stigma is because maybe the work that you're doing isn't fulfilling enough for you to become obsessed with it. And I don't mean obsessed in the word that's like it takes you away and you don't have anything outside of it, but the obsession of like, hey, it becomes a game to you. And then if you're able to gamify it, the work is fun. Those two things can equal each other. So if you're doing the work that you enjoy and you are obsessed with it, I just think that the work-life balance kind of, in order to be extraordinary, you have to do the first part of that. And that's extra. So if people are looking at you like, this is weird, or why would you do this? Or you're not doing the things that you used to do. It's like, well, how do you become one of the people that are extraordinary without doing extra and looking a little bit as an outlier? And that to me is something that I take kind of almost a little bit of pride in now. That's like, we're not there yet, but if you want to be an outlier, you got to do the thing that's on the outside looking in, not the thing that's on the inside looking out.
100%, dude. And it's funny. We've learned from other individuals that have reached a pinnacle or a high level of success on the podcast for the last 4 years. And we've taken all of these things and just kind of put them into action in our lives. And we've realized these little tweaks that they've made in their lives and their schedule is what has allowed them over time through consistency and discipline. By sticking to the path and the different path, it's allowed them to get to a level of success. And, a lot of people hide from wanting to do the work and staying consistent and doing these things. It's just a very interesting thing. So for example, the reason why I think you and I are prepared to talk about this, or we have the ability to with something that backs us up, is we're living proof. We've worked for free for the last 4 years. We started the podcast from nothing. And we didn't monetize in any type of way outside of a couple sponsors, but really it was free game on the podcast, free game on Instagram, just networking with other people. We sacrificed nights, weekends, sleep, income. We missed parties. We've missed trips. We've paid off our cars, have not bought in the sexy new cars. We've reinvested the capital that we had coming in, put it into income producing assets, and really just lived semi-frugally in a way because we want this bigger life. And we're trying to shrink our retirement time horizon. And I put retirement in air quotes here because I think it just means when we can pull back and actually have that work-life balance, because we're always going to work. Once you become really proficient in some skill, it's not like you're going to step away from it unless your body kind of stops you from doing that. So for us, that taking the road less traveled is right. It's like, what are other people doing that have reached a level of success? Putting that on paper and then mapping a plan to do this. I know it's kind of crazy, but people, the 5 a.m. club, that's a real thing. Corey and I aren't part of the 5 a.m. club where we get up early and do that. Where I think we're kind of the night owls. We talk till at least midnight. And so it's you get up I just give you like an idea of my schedule. We get up, we have a 2-year-old at home. You take care of the 2-year-old, you give her breakfast, you get your day going. Still for me, driving to the 9 to 5, working the 9 to 5. Then after the 9 to 5, you get home, put her in the tubby, get dinner ready, and then it's back to the grind again. And a lot of people are like, dude, how do you sleep? How do you do this? Like, that's crazy. It's you're over exalting yourself. But for me, as Corey mentioned, it's kind of become this game where, I know that if I put in the extra hours here, it's going to inch us closer to the level of success we want to get to. And I do have dreams for a bigger life. And I know that I can't just go to sleep when I get home and just redo the 9 to 5 day again. I have to give myself that time to chase my goals. And then that's also with the weekends too, right? Like, I'm not giving up all my weekends, but I'll get up earlier or I'll stay up later, and I'll map out a plan for our business and just whatever it is, whether it's making another post, whether it's structuring a lead magnet, whether it's putting together a training for our students and our coaching program. There's so many different things. Are we analyzing more deals? We have so many things flowing in synergy now, but there's no way we could possibly do this without carving out time and staying dedicated and focused to it, in order to actually get to the next level in our business.
I think one of the challenges is that, and if we relating this to real estate investing, is that you don't really see progress for like that 18 months to 2 years time frame. Like, you don't see any fruits, right? So it kind of takes you seeing the fruits of your labor, or like the first couple like wins, for you to become and build momentum and build an actual passion around your business, right? You don't just wake up with the passion. It kind of comes from the recognition a little bit, the results. But the reason why I bring all of this up is that we're in year 5, and this is not us saying that we're where we want to be. In fact, we're very, very far away, but we've hit this point where in year 5, and it happened this year, where we're starting to understand that this is the thing, and it really does work. All the thought process that we put into it, all the effort, all the energy, like, okay, now it actually is bearing fruits. Now, I want that to be a cautionary tale for people, because we're talking about year 5 here. And Alex Hormozi says this all the time. Like, it takes, if you really want to do something great, like, it takes 10 years. And we're halfway into that. Now the momentum really starts to build after that year 3, 4, 5, right? Like, that's when it really starts to change. And that's what we're seeing. And now we're able to, I'm able to do this full time, right? And I take pride in that. But we're not at this position where we're like speaking down to anyone. We're at a position where, like, hey, this actually worked. Like, if you do those things that we've been talking about on podcasts for 4 or 5 years, like, it actually does work. But like, are you and are we willing to commit 5 years to have it start to really work? And that, I think, is the time horizon that people have misconstrued. And I think it's kind of sad a little bit, because you jump on your phone and in any second, people can try to tell you that you're going to have a Lamborghini in 90 days, or that you're going to have $100,000 a month in 90 days, or this thing's going to change overnight and we're going to take meme coins to the moon. It's like, I'm telling you, we're feeling like we're living proof now of the time, energy, and effort that it actually takes to put in. And I'm willing to put in 80 to 90 hour weeks. It feels different when it's on something that you're building. So if you're relating that to your real estate portfolio and your rental portfolio, and you have 6 units, 8 units, 10, 12, and you're growing this thing, tell me, listening on the other side of this, that you're not feeling like, oh, I want to put my time, energy, and effort into that, and it doesn't feel as much like work. I'm not talking about the maintenance calls from your tenants. I'm talking about the building out of your business and the progress and the growth. So if you're worried about work-life balance, I think the first thing that you should think about is the work that I'm doing worthy of me to get really passionate or really obsessed over? And if it's not, then of course you would inherently be looking for the work-life balance, because you're not fulfilled in the work that you're doing. By the way, if you're 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and you're just getting out of school and you're just getting your feet wet, you're going to probably have to do the work that doesn't make sense to you, that you don't enjoy. And that's okay. my suggestion would be to pour your energy and effort into it, even if it feels bad, in order to be recognized as somebody who's willing to do extra work at shit that they don't really like doing. And
100%.
then things can change.
100%. And I couldn't agree more. I want to highlight a couple things that we kind of went through there, but if you're trying to build something from the ground up, balance is going to break you in the beginning. Trying to force yourself into this balance bubble, if you will, or the balance buy box. You need to be obsessed with it. And I think that's what's going to separate you from the pack. When you gamify this and you dangle the carrot in front of yourself, whether it's a goal in front of you and you reward yourself with either a trip or something, that is going to allow you to feel a type of way when you reach that level. And so you're not on the hamster wheel the whole time. And this work-life balance mantra that we're talking about, for us, we've realized it's a finish line, not a starting point, and that's what you're striving for. And we didn't get here because we had boundaries as we kind of went through this journey. We got here because we were unreasonable with our effort, right? We either woke up early, not myself, right? I stayed up late. I would stay up from, get home at 7, go all the way to midnight. And I did that for days on end in the beginning. And then some weekends you have to sacrifice as well. But there's ways to, over time, kind of let this dissipate, and you kind of can, you realize what lever to pull when, and then you can kind of slowly find your balance and earn your balance there. But, I think a lot of people that they're not highlighting this on Instagram, they're showing the end result, as Corey mentioned, with whether it's the 90 days to a Lamborghini or buy this course in 30 days, we'll have you set up for financial freedom for the rest of your life. But it's these small little things on a daily basis that I think people skip, and they say, I don't need to do those. And they just want the end result. And we're here this episode is really just to break it down and to show you that if you do this consistently over time, it's the long game. And it's always the long game. The best assets you can buy are the long-term buy and holds, and that you have them in the ground and they just continue to pour you income. They increase in value over time. You build equity. And we're talking about real estate. There's other assets out there too, but a lot of times it's shiny object syndrome that people are trying to sell you on. And it's like a get rich quick scheme. It's never worked in the history of the world. And unless maybe you hit well on crypto, but mostly these crypto guys, I'll say, they probably have a portfolio of a bunch of other things, and they just had extra cash. They dumped it into this, and then they're highlighting that crypto for one reason. But there's a foundational piece to that, and a lot of research, time, energy, and attention that went into a bunch of different fields. So I just kind of wanted to pull that all together for you, that this thing to us, if you call it the work-life balance or just the strive for success, when it becomes a game and you become obsessed with it, and it kind of consumes your thoughts, you always find a way to put yourself in a position to get to the next level, meaning surrounding yourself with other people that have done it at a higher level. The media you consume, we're researching how to build businesses, how to build equity, how to buy assets, and the books that we read, the podcasts we consume. Everything around us now is driving us or pulling us towards that level that we want to go to. And that is the subconscious that, even when we're not focused on it, like outside in a way, it's pulling us to that. And so I want to say, if you can get yourself around that and get yourself in the mindset of like, how do I gamify what I want to do? And how can I give myself rewards for getting on certain stages of this journey? You'll be in a really good spot.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to mention here as we kind of like move through this thought process is that, like, people will say, follow your passion. And you know what, to be honest, we've probably said it in the past too, until we've kind of recalibrated our mindset and kind of learned through that. And if you're listening to this episode, I put up a reel a couple weeks ago where I said, following your passion is terrible advice. And the reason why I think it's terrible advice is because passion isn't the thing that gets you paid necessarily. It's competence, confidence, and your skill sets. But what ends up happening is that you're able to work backwards towards getting back to what something you're passionate about, and you don't have to tie your passion to the dollars. And I share this example sometimes. Like, I worked for free. We worked for free for years. I worked for free coaching high school basketball. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about. But I didn't want to take that risk of working 20 years, not able to make $100,000, to then hopefully tie my passion to the dollars. And then I feel like at that point, I maybe would have lost the love for the game. So what I do is I coach high school basketball for free. I still get to get back to my passion, but what ends up happening is your passion is developed through the skill set, through the competence, through the confidence that you build in something that you enjoy doing and that you're good at doing. So follow what you're really good at, And then by way of osmosis and by way of getting really good at it and doing it over and over and over again, you actually develop your passion through that, and you become passionate about that new game that you've created. So it's really about timing. Don't follow your passion off the start. So you can circle back to your passion. Again, this isn't just, you don't have to do this, but this is a way that we've found that's been most successful, is that once you get really good at something, then you're kind of able to like relieve yourself of that time and build your passion in a different way, you know?
100%. And this, we can tie this to so many different things. Maybe you're just on the start of your journey to financial independence, right? And you are at this time where you need to consume all the information you possibly can on how and your why to get to that next level. Like, what's the life you want to build? Are you doing a vision casting exercise where you're walking through and you're envisioning your life in the next 5 to 10 years? Are you putting together SMART goals and drilling down, the SMART, how to find your way to have building blocks and checkpoints along the way to actually get to your goals? And then from there, as you grow, there's different things that'll get tweaked along the way. But for us, I basically wanted to tie this in and explain, like, balance is going to look different depending on the season that you're in, right? You could be on the foundational piece, or you could be the going all in piece, or you could be at the, hey, I need to delegate this task off to someone else because it's taking too much of my time piece. And there's so many different ways. There's not really like a linear roadmap here to explain it, but I want to talk about like the season of business that we're in so that you guys can kind of see where we're at. Last fall, where this episode probably comes out, let's call it mid-April or maybe early May, but in September of 2024, Corey left his W-2 job. And from that time till now, we're still in this season, right? We're on the build it or die season, right? Like, we have to build revenue so that he can survive on a monthly basis, obviously with the real estate coming in. So we have a cushion, but there's other things. We need income generating on a monthly basis for Corey to be able to eat, for him to be able to sleep, for him to be able to provide for his family, to still be able to invest, right? While I'm still balancing my W-2, and I can use some of the W-2 funds to funnel into the business if we need to. So we have this kind of ping ponging back and forth, but right now the season that we're locked in on is build it or die. Like, we need revenue coming in, or this thing's not going to work out. And how long can we sustain this? And I think that's why a lot of small businesses fail, because they have this runway of, like, whatever you want to call it, 40, $50,000. Once that runs out, they're done. They got to go back to their W-2. So how can he and I together intelligently map this out and last as long as possible until all the dough comes in and we build this thing from the ground up? It takes a long time to build $1 million business. I don't think most people, our goal obviously is to build it in a year, but for most people, that's not realistic. So how can we tweak certain levers, use our network, and really build this thing around us in the time horizon that we have, knowing, it's not, it's finite. We're not going to be able to do this forever, especially when we have growing families and our lives are changing. So I wanted to give you a picture of where we're currently living. And, Corey can probably speak better to this, but we're really in that, hey, build it or die, baby, burn the boats.
Yeah. And I think the build it or die is like, you don't die unless you stop trying. So that all that happens is your time horizon gets extended. So, our goal is to build this $1 million business in the next year. If it doesn't happen in a year, what do? Well, you try to build it in 18 months, or you try to build it in 24 months. And we've said this so many times, like, how many people start a business or start a venture and then they quit, and they're very, very close to that point where they were going to hit a breakthrough. And you never know when the breakthrough is coming. We've already felt some momentum kicks, so we know it's there. And that's what's helped us. Because, dude, this is not for the faint of heart. Like, some months are great, particularly this month is not great. And that's okay. Like, that's something that I'm working through. Is like, I sent you a voice memo the other day. Like, I think this is really what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Like, you can't have all the good without the, like, all right, like, your heart's beating a little bit faster and you got to figure this out. And I think for anybody listening that is going through that, I hope that, you hear this, that it's happening not just to us, but it's happening at a higher level too. And we had Cole Rude Johnson on a podcast the other day, and he said that, like, some of the best businesses that he's seen are in that, like, 1 to 5 million. And he took home more money making, that 1 to 5 million personally than he took home when his business was bigger. So what that tells me is that people are having problems just because their business is $8 million or $10 million. Everyone's having these issues. And I think it's the entrepreneurial, like, spirit that carries you through. So when you're having issues with your rental properties, or if people, if like your tenants stop paying, or if you need to do an eviction, or you have a bad month with expenses, just know that there's a lot of other people that are going through some of these similar problems, and they're pushing through them, and you need to surround yourself with the people who are pushing through them and who know what to do, so those problems for them are really not big. They're just every day. So that to me is like a little bit about the work-life balance, is finding other people who are willing to not need the work-life balance enough. And then going to the work-life balance, I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but going to that, like, what does that actually mean to me? Well, when I'm with the people that I love, and I don't mean like an hour here, an hour there, but like if I'm with family, I've put a practice in. It's just like I keep my phone either with my girlfriend in her purse because she's better at managing it, or in my car, or I'll walk it upstairs to put it on do not disturb and put it in a room, and I'm good. I don't touch it for hours. And that's how I create the actual balance of when you're doing things with your family or with people that you want to spend time with, where you're actually present with them and you're not just there, because there's no point in being just there. But I struggle with that. Like if I have my phone on me, like I'll look at it. It's just a habit. I don't know if it's, now it feels like it's deep psychologically, like it's within me. But if I remove myself from that, that's how I do create the balance, even, at the times where at the times where I need to. So it's not all about like never spending time with your family. Like that's not what work-life balance is to me,
No. And I think that's a good thing to bring up, because we're not trying to pitch this as, hey, listen, like you need to go all in your business and cast aside your friends and family. It's not the case. We're just saying to get to that 1%, or to get to the high level of success that most people do, there was sacrifice at some point in seasons of life within the business, and that you need to know when to go all in, and you need to block out 6 months and say, hey, I'm going ghost, man, and just like zero dark 30 this thing. And so there's a lot of things that you touched on there, but I wanted to dive in on the being present. I think that's very important, and I want you guys to all realize this, whether you're single or you have a family, and just like, or whether you're hanging out with family members or people that love and care about you, could just be friends. Toss that phone away, man. Just put it, either if you're having dinner, put it at the center of the table, go put it up in a room, do something where you can be where your feet are. One of the CEOs of a big company that Corey and I really respect is he wrote a book. It's called Be Where Your Feet Are, and really talks about like staying in the moment, because you can, even if you put the phone away, you could still be thinking about work and all these tasks and things you have to do, and just staring at your family, but you're not listening. You're not actively listening to what they have to say. You're not engaging. You're not present, and just you're glossed over. And I think we're all guilty of that. I know I am from sometimes. And my wife will check me. She's like, you here? You with us? And like, I've actively had to work on this, is what I'm saying. And I've gotten much better at it. I think as I've had my daughter, like there's little things where I don't want to miss little moments. Like we're locked in on Disney right now, and watching Disney movies and Lion King and things. And I could easily pop open the laptop, or pop open or have my phone and just like rip out, whether it's another, we post on social media every day, any little thing. There's so many different things that I could build out really quickly and do, but she'll look over at me. Right. And she's like, hey, what do you like? Kind of like, she doesn't really saying, hey dad, what are you doing? But I know the eyes, she's like, she wants me locked in. And that to me is more important than I can always figure out the other stuff. So seasons of life, once again, if you're with your family, just be present, be where your feet are. I think that's a great mantra to live by. So I wanted to touch on that. And then I also wanted to pivot back to one thing you said, and we started talking about like following your passion. I think I want to give you an example why following your passion is terrible advice if you have no money. I'll give this, Corey, I don't even know if you know this, which is kind of cool. I'll bring it back to high school. So I still am. I like drawing and all that. And like the creative brain in me is much better than my analytical, and maybe not analytical, but I'm not really a numbers guy. Like it doesn't come quick to me. I can do it. I don't love it. I love creating. I love building. I love bringing things to life from nothing. So that's like part of the entrepreneur in me. So, but it stems back to high school. I took an art class and photography, art, all this stuff. And I was like, wow, I am going to school for art 100%. Like I'm locked in on it. And I go home and I tell my dad, who also, he runs a business and has a bunch of employees and all that stuff. He's an entrepreneur. And he's like, dude, you're not going to art school. And like, he's like jokingly said it. I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, Dad, I'm definitely going. I had my little like plan mapped out. He's like, okay, cool. That's great. You're going to do all this, but then what are you going to do? What type of revenue does that bring you? Do you want a family? Do you want X, Y, Z? And I'm like, huh. He's like, you can craftfully continue to be an artist and do things along the way that where your passions lie, but you need to have a financial stability or income coming in. It's just the way the world works. I don't want you in a bad spot. So he's like, let's do a trade-off. You don't go to school for art, you go to school for business. I'll pay for your college, or I'll help pay for your college, and then you can join the clubs, join the groups, and do all the stuff around it. So it's a happy medium. I was like, you know what, dude, that sounds great. And, I have $0. So I'm, if you're going to help me out, then I will, I'll take you up on it. So I ended up going to school for media, business, and entrepreneurship. And it's funny, became an entrepreneur. It's funny. I think it just runs in my blood at this point. My dad and his brothers all run their own respective companies. And so I just been around it my whole life. And I knew at some point I would have my own thing going. Didn't know what it was. But what I found, and the reason I'm tying this back to your passions, like your passions don't pay the bills, skills do. And then at some point you can weave back your passions. And so, for example, Corey and I's business, I never thought I never knew what our business was. I knew I liked real estate. I knew it made 90% of millionaires. And I was like, but I took one real estate class in college, and I was like, this was hard. It was real estate, like legal aspects or real estate law. And I was like, this is real estate. This sucks. And so I was like, I don't understand how people do this, how they make the money. So somehow I came into the FIRE movement, and I was like, okay, I understand how to analyze a deal for cash flow. I understand how to build income producing assets or buy them. So that was our lane of real estate. But within that, I'm like, okay, how can I get my passion back in this thing? It's still numbers. I don't love it, but I do love the financial stability. Then came the podcast. And Corey approached me with that. I was like, dude, this is something I can get behind. I love talking about personal finance. I love riffing back and forth with Corey. I'm so curious about people. I want to know how they reach the level of success. It's so easy for me to ask them questions because I'm genuinely so curious. If we can put some tact around this, maybe we can build something bigger from it. So that's how the podcast evolved. And then I got to really dive in on my creative side by creating our Instagram with Corey. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. We can change the colors. We can make avatars about ourselves. We can craft our messaging. We can build a brand. And that's how I've been able to say, hey, Dad, appreciate you like teaching me about business, about finance, about the world, and not letting me go all in on that, because now I'm able to tie back my passions and infuse that into our business. And that's what I want to say is like, there's ways, once again, back to the balance. I'm able to leverage the things that's needed in the world with my passion and tying those together for a nice, beautiful blend. And I think that's really that's my competitive advantage, if I could say, because now we know how to build something from the ground up, how to infuse revenue into it, how to create a brand, how to create a community. And I say that creator, like the creator part of this, that's how my brain works. And Corey is very much an analytical guy and thinks about the numbers. And so obviously there's creative within him too, but that's our balance, and that's how our business runs. And so he lets me take my lane down. I let him take his lane down. He manages the books. I manage the creative side. That's a pretty damn good blend for two guys coming from pretty much nothing and just figuring it out.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. I have one last thought before we wind down. I'm just going to be open and as candid as possible. Like, right now, as we're recording this, I feel like I'm getting my ass kicked with our business, straight up. Like, we've had a couple really, really good months. We're filming this in April. It's not a good month. We're struggling. Now, what does that mean? Well, I was listening to a couple other people who have quote unquote made it, just some, high level real estate investors, entrepreneurs. And one of the things they said is that they kind of miss the grind. They kind of miss the not knowing what's going to happen. And it's like, how they say, like, these are the good old days. Like you kind of never know what solace or what like you can find in the struggle. And it's hard to recognize that when you're actually doing it. Like, even for example, like before recording this podcast, I just wasn't having I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't having a great morning. I just felt like I wasn't performing. I felt like just things were not going well. Now, that's all in between my ears, right? But I say that to say that if you can put yourself in the mindset, if you're listening, that like maybe things aren't going your way, or maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but is your future self going to potentially miss the time where it was almost fun as you're figuring it out? Because if you truly believe in yourself and you truly have that confidence that you will eventually figure it out and you will strive and you will grow, then your problems of tomorrow, you're kind of going to wish you had your old ones. And that's what I've heard from not me, but people that I look up to. And I don't know exactly how to implement that into like present day because it's hard to do. But if you're listening to this episode and you're wondering about work-life balance, because that's what this is, the topic is, and you're wondering, like, just know that there's other people out there that are trying to fight the same fight, that you're going to eventually want the problems you have now in the future. You're going to miss that going through it. And I've heard it from a number of people. So I try to take that and bottle it up because it's not always easy, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I I can tell. I think, knowing us too, and this is just, human beings 101, a way to get out of that funk. I mean, this is how I do it. I mean, the most basic ways, I go for a run. And not everybody likes to run. Some people like to work out, whatever, what solid core, yoga, whatever you like to do, hit the weights. But your passion becomes clearer through pain. And that's not only through going through the journey, right? And experiencing pain and hiccups and speed bumps. If we immediately just made $1 million and we're financially free and had everything we ever wanted on a silver platter, there's no worth there, right? Like we're going to not treat it as well. We're not going to nurture it properly and take care of it. And I think that's why we'll look back on these days. And I look back to our first podcast, like that is painful for me I'm like, oh my God, that was horrendous. But just to know every day we've showed up and we've built so many incredible relationships along the way. I'm trying, like, I know this is hard to do for everyone, but appreciating where you are in the moment and in the journey and like what season of life you're in and season of life in the business, again, is like, that is a really hard skill to develop. But when you do it, it makes you appreciate every day. And if you can lead the day with gratitude, and it just helps you carry forward and understand we are so drastically different today from where we're on day one as just human beings. I can walk into a room and have a conversation with any person about anything and find something on common ground because we've interviewed so many people. I've asked so many questions. Like we did like the speed dating exercise at the W2 the other day. And I was like, I bodied it. I was like, this is the easiest thing I ever did. I was exhausted at the end, but people were just staring and they're like, they had no questions. I'm like, I go for hours. And for me, that's something where back in the day, I'd be so scared to stand up in front of anyone and have a conversation. I don't know. And one of the biggest skill sets you can have, in my opinion, is to be able to communicate and have conversations with any walks of life, make them feel great and amplify.
The number one skill set. And it's the number one thing that most people are afraid of, public speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
It's just one of those things. And I think you look at every super successful human being, and everyone's just a person, right? We all bleed the same blood, but the ones that have had the highest level of success, they have a chip on their shoulder for some reason. And whether they've been through an immense amount of pain or they've created that pain in their head and they feel like people are out to get them, or they feel like people are against them for whatever reason, and that keeps them driving. That's a whole other episode we could talk about, but the psychology behind it, I love. And so for us, like I consistently try to have some sort of thing to like fire me up and say, they're betting against me, man. Let's go. Let's prove them a little bit wrong here. Oh, okay.
Even if it's not even there, like even if
it's not even there. And there's things back to like childhood and things like that. And like, whatever, like I'm not unpacking this in a therapy session, but there's certain things. And I think we did a great episode about being the firstborn and certain things like that as leadership. And you kind of have to, pave your way in the world. But my point is, all these people have been through, like, that we've interviewed, and this is just proof. We peel back all the layers and we try to really get back to who they are as people and what makes them tick, and most of them had something drastic happen to them, or they had big hurdles that they had to overcome at a younger age, and that allowed them to get through. So what I'm saying is these hard days and the storms, they're just going to make us better. And I know that sounds very cliche, but it's actually true. We've been through some stuff and we look back like, glad that happened. For example, we had a property burned to the ground, the worst possible thing you could think of as someone that's getting into real estate. And we became better from it. We're like, okay, if we could get over the fear of that happening and get going through it, I'm like, if it happens again, cool. Like, fine. We know how to overcome that. So just take that with a grain of salt. And the easiest way to get around this too is to have people around you that have also experienced pain and they've reached a level of success, and say, hey, here's what I'm going through. How would you advise I handle this? Or what do you think about this? Because it's so much easier for someone else to give you advice because they don't have the emotion tied in it. It's all logic for them, right? Like, I can't give myself relationship advice or things about like personal things because I'm going through it and I have skin in the game. Corey could be like, dude, you're an idiot. Do this because of this. And be like, okay, way easier. So my point is, you're going to go through seasons of life. You're going to go through the storms. And I think for us, it's important to talk about the pain that we're going through, because it's hard and it sucks. And it's, how do we pivot? And when you learn to continually pivot over and over and over, at some point you become bulletproof in business, and you have everything, you've seen every facet or every scenario that could possibly come up, where you're so much more prepared for it, and you're calloused, and it doesn't throw you off your day. You're not rattled. You can keep the train rolling down the tracks, and it's not as big of a deal as it once was.
Just know that if you're looking for guys to talk to who are going to be in your corner, who are going to push you through those times where you don't feel like doing shit, or you feel like things aren't working for you, even if you look at us as some sort of authoritative figure in the space, which I'm not even sure that we are, we've gotten to some level of success wherever you put that on the pedestal. We have these tough days too. So if you want to chat with people who are going to give you the real and tell you that, yeah, this is happening for us, and this is what I would do if I was in your shoes, feel free to reach out to us, because I like talking to people about that. And it's part of the reason we started our coaching community, our mentorship program, teaching people how to buy their first and next rental property. It's not just about that rental property. It's about the person that you become that allows you to grow more and to build it bigger, and then to become financially free eventually. But we can really help you with those first couple. And we're just people that are going to be in your corner and just help you through the times. And some of our coaching calls end up being just mindset and figuring out how to get to that next stage, or push through that day, or push through the things that are bothering you currently, because we're all going through it. So that's all I got, man. I thought this was good. Maybe it did feel kind of like a therapy session, but in summary, really, the work-life balance it's really what you make it. The question that you have to ask yourself is like, how bad do I want this thing that I'm going after? And what are the priorities that I'm willing to put ahead of the things that I'm not? And that will determine how much work-life balance you can actually endure. And for us, I don't think there's much of it, at least in the season that we're in right now. And I'm happy about it, because I'm finally able to see the things that are working, that we've been working towards.
100%. On to better days. And I truly enjoy weathering the storm. It makes me feel like I can overcome anything. Yeah, you feel alive and energized. And like, once again, the last thing I'll say is like, if this life was just handed to you on a silver platter, it would not feel worth it. It's when someone gives you a gift, it's great, it lasts a little bit, but when you go buy it yourself, that is when you really take care of it, and you realize how many you don't value the dollars that you put into it, you value the time that it took you to get those dollars, and that's why you're going to treasure that thing that you bought or earned, if you will. So overall, I love these type of episodes. We're going to continue to do more of these, and it's for the mindset and thinking between the ears for entrepreneurs, and just showing you we have been through great days, we've been through tough days, we've been through horrible days, but it's all for the greater good. And the more people we can impact and showcase this is the real side of real estate and the real side of entrepreneurship, the better. And we do have a community, as Corey mentioned, of people. Like, half the time it's just for us to get in and talk to people that are on the same journey, right? And that's where we want to be, around the right people, great worth ethic, values, and it's taking down the world together. So thanks for listening. We will see you next week.